What I wanted was 5 years down the road, 50 years down the road, on my deathbed, I wanted to know that what I had done for my son was right. The last thing I wanted in the world was parental regret in any form. And I've seen what that looks like on other people's faces. I've seen people tell me after the fact, had I known the information, had I heard your story, I would have placed my child and they would have had a better life. I've had even people who have had abortions tell me, had I heard your story before I'd made my choice, had I had the accurate and current information, I would have made a different choice. When the test said positive, it was such a shock to me that I didn't even really have any reaction. I wasn't scared, I wasn't nervous, I wasn't excited, I had a complete flat affect, like no emotional reaction, because the reality was way too big for my adolescent brain to even start to digest or absorb. And honestly, the suggestion of adoption really was offensive to me, because in my mind at the time, the way I viewed adoption was, no, if you can parent, you do parent. And I can, I'm a good person. You know, I didn't have any substance abuse problems. I was going to be a legal adult when I had him. I'd worked since I was 16. My family had plenty of money. My boyfriend wanted to marry me. It wasn't some abusive relationship. I wasn't like poverty stricken and, you know, drug addicted, you know. And so I really pushed the idea to the back of the list. And but I said that I was considering it, because I knew it was right to consider all my options, and I knew it was right to be open-minded. So I said that it was on my list of considerations, but really it was way at the back, way at the bottom. This was a spiritual journey for me, because like I said, up until this time, I'd never done anything but screw stuff up. I needed help. I needed backup. I knew I was inadequate, you know, with my maturity level, my lack of experience, et cetera, et cetera. So, and plus, this is something that deals with the future. And I can't see the future. I don't know if I choose to single parent, will he never have a father? Or would I find a wonderful husband in 6 months? Or, you know, would I have resources or would I not? I don't know. If I choose to place for adoption, I don't know if this family is going to be what they represented, or if, you know, he's going to have terrible regrets. And so I went to God in somewhat of in desperation and / humility. For me, I have to get desperate to get humble sometimes. I have to be compelled to be humble. And I was like, you know what? I'm growing in every way I can. I'm doing everything right that I can possibly do. I've made changes. You've got to tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. And in this desperate place, in this frustrated place, in this total humility, I had an experience that's still hard to describe. A message came to me with words, if not a voice, that said, Tamra, give the Lord your will. And it's interesting, because I thought that I had before that point. I really thought I was being very flexible, you know. But when I received that message, when I heard or understood this clear message, Tamra, give the Lord your will, I recognized that I hadn't. I recognized I was still holding on to that one little part. And I understood at that moment that thy will be done means if it kills me. If I'm broken for the rest of my life. And to me, that's what adoption would mean for me. That I would be broken forever. That my heart would break and never recover. Come what may, for me, thy will be done. And, you know, that's what Moses' mother understood when she put him in a little basket and sent him on the river, you know. And so it was really, at 17 years old, it's really hard to forget yourself. It's really hard to eliminate yourself from an equation, you know, from here I am problem solving. It's really difficult for me to completely omit what I feel, what I think, what I want, and even what I think I need. But at the moment that I did, at the moment that I said, come what may for Tamra, what does it mean for my son? What's best for my child? And that was the prayer I hadn't offered. And I said, okay, dear Lord, forget me. What is best for my son? And at that moment, I really put it all on the altar in terms of my own heart, my own will, what I wanted and what I felt. And at that moment, it became crystal clear. I couldn't deceive myself anymore. Because I tried to say that I could, if I overcompensate, you know, and if I make every sacrifice, and I never do anything wrong again, if I'm the best single mom ever, he'll be all right, you know. But at this point, it became crystal clear to me that the difference between me at 17 or 18 years old and two people with preparation, maturity, experience, and a stable relationship, a mother and a father, at my best, I couldn't compensate for the difference. At my best, I couldn't be what they could be. And it came down to, Tamra, do you want enough for Justin, or do you want best for him? And I would have been a good mom is the thing. Again, at one point I thought it was a matter of bad people placing babies with good people. Now I recognize that it's a matter of good, better, best. I would have been good. If he was with me, he'd be happy and healthy. His needs would be met. There'd be more than enough love. But when I knew there was more, he had to have it. And so at the moment that I looked at it that way and that I really surrendered what I wanted, I knew it was adoption. All of a sudden, it wasn't a tough decision anymore. It wasn't confusing anymore. And among the top 2 most spiritual experiences of my life was meeting my son's parents. So I'm sitting in this office building in this adoption agency in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm about to meet the strangers who are going to raise my child, So these 2 strangers walk in who I've never before seen in this life, and I recognize them. And that's hard to explain. And sometimes I don't know if people believe me when I say that, but it is what it is. That's all I can do is tell the story how it happened. But I physically recognize them. I'd seen their faces before, and I can't tell you from where or from when. And not only did I physically recognize them, not only were their faces visibly familiar to me, but immediately in my heart, I felt family, immediately. But it was bittersweet because the thing is, the biggest fallacy, there's so many fallacies about adoption, the biggest one is that birth parents don't want their children, that's why we place for adoption, is because we don't want them. I wanted him. In my first trimester, it looked like I was going to miscarry. I had placenta previa. And I was praying to God that I wouldn't miscarry, which is so ironic because I was terrified of this pregnancy. So it was bittersweet because as I sat across from his mother, I was so relieved that I had found them and that he was going to have everything that he should have and that all was well. But as I looked her in the eye, I knew that's his mom. I'm not. And that was bitter for me. That was, it was sad. But all in all, it was, and the thing is, here was a silver lining. Up until this point, I just knew I was losing a child, and that's tragedy, right? But here I am sitting across from these people who are instantly my family, who I'm instantly in love with. And they have waited years, okay? They were like the oldest couple I looked at. They had waited years, and their prayers were finally going to be answered. And what this experience taught me is that I wasn't choosing his family. God did his job. I wasn't doing God's job. God was using me to find his family. I didn't choose them. I found them. They were his family with or without me. He was theirs before he was mine. I know that. It looks on this side of things, on this mortal side of things, it looks like I shared him with them. But in reality, they shared him with me. And the reason is because I needed him too. God got 2 birds with 1 stone. Justin had to go home, but he saved my life on the way. I was in a dark place. There'd been ugly things in my childhood, and I was very much a product of those things. And again, I hadn't mattered enough to make the changes. Nothing short of this maternal instinct and this maternal responsibility would have shaken me awake. Nothing short of this experience would have snatched me out of the darkness that I was in. And so I just think, how gracious is God that he let me be part of this. So, and it doesn't mean there wasn't loss, because obviously, from my side, adoption is a lot to do with loss. But what I've gained, and who could have thought? I had no idea of compensation. I expected no compensation for my sacrifice, because I didn't think there was any such thing. How can you compensate for the loss of a child? But my loss has been more than compensated for, and I still can't explain it, I still don't understand it, but the sweetness always swallows up the bitter. What he gains, what his family gains, and even what I've gained, compensates for the loss. And it was an intervention. This was a rescue effort, and I'm so grateful to his family, because the way that I view it is that those years that passed when they prayed and cried for a child, when month after month, they weren't pregnant, and then when they found out they wouldn't be, and when we waited and waited for a birth mom to choose them, I feel like that's what they put on the altar for me, because I needed that experience, because I needed him too. So I feel like we both sacrificed, and we both put something on the altar, and we answered each other's prayers.